What's going on? It's your boy Darius, and I'm here in the stew talking about my new favorite topic, I guess. Now, I already made a video about this, and it's all about the cyber attacks coming out of China on the United States. And there just been some new shit that has came out, so I got the facts pulled up on my computer. I want to go through all the facts, the articles, and let's just fucking talk about it. The funny thing is, I actually already made this entire video, but yesterday I had a great conversation with a dude I just met. And instead of making a whole separate video about what he said and what I got from that conversation, I just want to remake the video, include it, because it's kind of lit, honestly. So before we jump on the computer, I want to tell you about this guy and the conversation we had. We're just talking, super cool, hella casual. He's older than me. He's probably like 10 years older than me, but like a super chill dude. And throughout the conversation, he's just talking, and he said the same thing a couple times. He said he was in finance. That's his work. Now, I'm in finance too, so I know that there's a lot of different realms of finance. So I asked him, so what kind of finance do you do, right? And this guy tells me, he says, I'm in cybersecurity sales for big tech companies. Bro, as soon as he said that shit, my face lit up. Like, I already knew that, like, hey, I'm about to have a great conversation with this nigga because he's cool as fuck already, and this has been an interesting topic to me, right? So, boom, we're still just chilling, chopping it up, and I'm like, business must be booming, right? Because China's on some bullshit, essentially. And he says, like, yeah, companies are always cutting budgets and just trying to limit their spending, but they never limit their spending on cybersecurity. So his job is really stable, very lucrative, and whatnot. But he dropped one gem on me, and that's why I'm giving this update real quick. So I ended up getting into the whole what the FBI said about what we know that China's on. And what he said kind of shook me because I never heard it before. He told me that China and Russia have had access to a Microsoft admin account for 5 years. And he went on to say that the access to this admin account lets these guys see and read anybody's email that's under Microsoft, right? Any Microsoft 360 account, these motherfuckers can read their emails. Then he went on to give me examples. He said if Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Secretary of State, any of these people using a Microsoft email account, China and Russia can read every single fucking email. So he portrayed it to me saying, yeah, the government's telling us this, but the government would never tell us that because the government doesn't even know what the fuck they got into, essentially. So they know that they're in there or that they were in there for 5 fucking years, but they don't know what they got out of it. So they could have everything. So that's the update real quick that I wanted to give. And it was funny because he gave me that and it kind of shook me, essentially, because I never heard it before. And he's on the cutting edge of fucking cybersecurity information because that's his 10-year job. However, it was funny because I dropped something on him too that kind of shook him as well. And actually, that's actually the first article that we're going to jump into that I can update us on. So let's just jump on my computer real quick so we can tap into the first subject. All right, we're on the computer now, so let's get into the juicy shit. The new shit that I want to talk about is going to be, one, the AT&T outage. I have the article pulled up. We're going to get into the facts. 2, the information leak that came out of China. And 3, like I said before, I made a video on this topic already. And in that video, I brought up some points, of course. And I want to give an update to one of the points that I made in that video because I just learned some shit about it. So let's start with that one because also this is what I told that cybersecurity sales agent that he was surprised by as well. And I was surprised by it too when I found that shit out. So let me show you real quick. Now, I brought up the movie Leave the World Behind. It just came out, I think, last year. Yeah, at the end of last year. And I brought it up in the first video because watching this movie was one of 2 things that planted the seed of the whole China cyber attack possibility before actually hearing the FBI director confirm that shit, right? So I recommend watching it. 1, it's a really good movie, but 2, it literally details out super realistically the day-to-day life a normal person would live in a situation like this. The power grid goes down, whatnot. More than that, other than the movie just hitting me in general, because before watching the FBI thing, it already hit me. Then I see the FBI shit. So that initial hit just tuned it the fuck up. And then I got fucking triple hit when I found this out about this movie. And this is the update that I want to give my channel, but also what I gave to the dude. So I found this out because I've seen this movie 5 times, and it really shocked me because I never really watched the credits after watching the movie so many times. But I found out who executive produced it, and that was the shocking thing to me. So let me show you real quick and then we'll talk about it. So coming down here, we can see that Barack and Michelle Obama were the executive producers on this fucking movie. So to me, this is significant for 2 reasons. The first one is going to be the access to information that somebody of this status has. Because when I think about it, I could be right, I could be wrong, but I would assume and confidently say that somebody like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, just thinking about them 2 as one, they have more access to information about, the top secret shit than, say, like a normal movie producer, normal Hollywood movie producer. So they're able to, but I feel like they have the possibility. It's more likely that they are coming from somewhere of truth versus somewhere of creativity like a normal movie person would, right? I never really thought of Barack and Michelle Obama as entertainers. You know what I mean? So seeing them on this, I feel like it hits different. And that kind of leads into the second reason why it's rather significant to me, because of the influence that they have. So when you think about it, when, say, a president or even like a former president speaks, for me at least, I'm more likely to listen and take what they're saying as serious versus, say, like a movie producer, just like a Quentin Tarantino or some shit, like a director, high level, say he was speaking even on like the same subject as what Obama might be, I would listen to him in a completely different way. So seeing them being the executive producers on such a realistic and like scary kind of movie, because it wasn't like jump scare or nothing, but it's just scary how realistic and how fucked we would be. Seeing them have their hand in this makes it seem even more real. Like they're trying to warn us, because if they have access to, classified information, they can't come out and just tell the people, because they would, go to fucking prison for treason or whatever the fuck the law is. But what if they do tell us via entertainment, via a Netflix movie? They know how to get right to the people. So seeing them being the producers of this shit shook me. I told that guy, the cybersecurity guy, after he told me the fact of, the China-Russia shit, and he was like, no fucking way. And then we sat there and talked about it, but this was wild to me when I figured that out. For those reasons, the access to information that they have and what makes me kind of think about it even more realistically, but also the influence that they have being the position that they used to be in. They were leaders. I mean, still leaders. But anyway, that's the update, because that shit was crazy to me. Everybody I tell that's seen this movie and feels this movie, they also feel like it's kind of crazy. So got that first one out the way. So let's get into a new thing that came out that I want to speak about. That's going to be this. Let's go up to it. It is the information leak that came out of China. So essentially, I'm not going to read this whole fucking article, but what happened before this AT&T outage was somebody within China or one of these hacker groups released a bunch of information, sensitive information, that detailed kind of the paradigm, the plan, and the execution of how China was hacking, spying on other countries, their citizens themselves, and kind of like their targets. So this is significant because not only does it give like citizens like us, but also it gives the government just more information on what the fuck they be doing type shit, And without going into everything that's said in here or said in the files, because of course it was a lot. One thing I want to touch on is going to be, it says, I'm not sure where it is in here, but go read it. It's just like New York Times shit, but it's right here. They literally, before I talk about this specific point, something that was also significant is China not being directly the ones hacking. So what I mean by that is like they're hiring contractors. They're hiring companies and people to do the hacking for them, so they can kind of be like, if the niggas get caught, China can say like, hey, that's not me, that's them. You know what I mean? Although those people are reporting back to them. So anyway, they're just trying to cut the connection by hiring out contractors. What I wanted to say before that I thought was interesting, other than everything else that is one thing that they were doing specifically within their campaigns was a disinformation campaign on Twitter. One of these companies that they would hire out, or the company that they would hire out, one of their main things was literally running disinformation campaigns on Twitter, essentially spreading fake news. And the reason that's significant is because it reinforces a theory that I've heard before. And that theory was about China making TikTok, and they control the feed that Western children, I'm obviously not a fucking children, but I'm talking about, the young niggas in the United States that be on TikTok. China is curating their feeds to be bullshit, right? Just like bullshit, versus the same age kids in China will get more constructive information on their feeds on the same app and whatnot. So like math problems or building shit, you know what I mean? They curating the feeds to try and fuck up the next generation of United States children, and doing the opposite with their children there, as they're just trying to make their generation greater and smarter. So I just thought that was really interesting that they are absolutely using social media as a weapon. So that's the leak that came out. It just gave us a bunch of information. And the last thing I'll say about this is going to be, it really reminds me of Edward Snowden. He was the United States whistleblower. This guy, he had top secret clearance for the NSA, or with the NSA. And what he did is he came out to the people, us, and he told us that the government or the NSA can read your emails, read your texts, listen to your phone calls, fucking tap into, all your fucking cameras. They have complete access, and they use the fuck out of that access. He came out and said that. He fled the fucking country. I think he went to China or Russia, and then the United States tried to extradite him back to the United States to put him in prison for espionage. So, and treason, whatever the fuck law was. However, this is exactly that, but a Chinese person or, someone in the China system leaking them. It's just really interesting, because this leads into the next one that I'm going to bring up. It's the AT&T outage that happened after that. So let's read what AT&T had to say. So AT&T's explanation for the outage is as follows. I'm going to read just this one because it's the one I want to talk about, straight from the AT&T website. And it says, based on our initial review, we believe that today's outage was caused by the application and execution of an incorrect process used as we were expanding our network, not a cyber attack. We are continuing our assessment of today's outage to ensure we keep delivering the service that our customers deserve. Cool. So the only thing I have to say about this, because this came straight from AT&T, is the fact of them using cyber attack. Reading that, it makes me think, what made them mention that? And I get it, of course, customers and consumers, everybody's going to wonder what the fuck happened. The power plants didn't go down. Transformers that function these cell towers didn't go down. So it's truly like a network thing that happened. However, people were guessing that it could have been a solar flare, because it's super possible that the sun's been acting up. It's actually interesting that the sun has two poles, just kind of like the earth does, and they rotate over time. And that rotation is happening right now. So it's kind of throwing more solar flares. So it's like a, valid possibility, just like a cyber attack is. My thing is, why didn't they say solar flare? People are saying it could have been a solar flare as well. People are also saying it could have been a cyber attack too. So them mentioning cyber attack can plant a seed in people's minds that aren't even thinking cyber attack. Imagine like Karen down the street that is in her own world. Her phone just goes out. She has no idea it could have possibly been a cyber attack. She, it's just like, what the fuck? AT&T says like we just fucked up. She's gonna believe it. But then when AT&T says it wasn't a cyber attack, she never thought that. But now she is because they mentioned it. So it intrigued me that they use that language of cyber attack because now they're planting unnecessary seeds in everybody's mind, essentially. But I get it. You got to reassure the people. However, it's just a little suspect. That's all I really have to say about that. Whether I think it was or not doesn't matter, but I just thought it was interesting them saying that. So the very last update I want to make real quick is going to come from myself. So I made this video last year, and it's just about me giving my theory and some facts, fact-based theory on why the United States actually wants and encourages World War III. So in that video, I made one point that I want to update and just kind of talk about real quick. So the point that I made was when the United States, one day, they sent like a national security alert to every American's phone all at the same time. And in the video that I made here, I didn't know anything about the cyber shit, right? So I was just saying, what if them doing that is them, United States government, making sure that they're tapped in with the citizens because they know something that they're not telling us, and they want to make sure that they can just tell us when that shit happens. The example I used was like, say there's an asteroid coming in and they can't touch everyone's TV screen, right? They are going to go to the phones. So with my updated state of mind, I still agree with the statement that I made in terms of they're doing that to make sure that they're tapped in. But I just went a little deeper with the whole cyber shit. Now it's like, what if they've been they have been dealing with this China threat for a while. I don't know. I just got super deep, and that's why I want to bring it up. Just as a thought, what if they were testing out some sort of different frequency? So say China fucking takes out 5G, 4G, LTE, like normal cell phone communication. But the United States, when they sent that nationwide alert, they did it through something different, like some sort of like radio wave, to where if China was able to knock down all of the communication, we're able to, and we've we've tested how the government can still reach out to its citizens without having the normal structure that we have. So that was just like a random thought, but it was an updated thought because I still think the same thing in terms of they did it for a reason. They did it to make sure they can still communicate with us. However, what if that was the case, but it was a whole different technology thing behind it? I don't know. I just thought it was like a different thought. But anyway, that's really all the updates that I had that just happened as of late. The last thing I will say with this fucking video is all this shit added in. Of course, I'm thinking about it. Of course, it's a really interesting conversation, but it really enlightens me to be aware that if this shit really did go down, I am not prepared whatsoever. If this shit happened tomorrow, I'm just like everybody else. I'm fucked. I'm going to the gas station, raiding gas stations, raiding grocery stores and shit. So with that being said, I'm going to end this off saying I don't want to be caught up and not prepared. So I'm excited to finally start to prepare just for worst case scenario, because I would sleep so much better knowing I'm ready. So I'm going to start documenting my get ready guide, my prepping guide for when shit hits the fan, being the whole food thing, the weapons thing. But the thing I'm most excited for is the car thing. I need to build my doomsday car. So that shit's coming up later. I'm excited to talk about some more crypto shit, but I had to get this video off because I already made it, but some more shit happened, blah, blah, blah. But I'll catch you in the next one. Leave me a comment. I guess, like my shit. I don't know.